Okay, so I'm going to start my competency 2. The teacher understands students' diversity and knows how to plan learning experiences and design assessments that are responsive to differences among students and that promotes all students. I chose knows how to use diversity in a classroom and the community to enrich all students' learning experience. So for my product evidence, I looked on Times for Kids website called Around the World. This website has information about countries around the world. We would only be discussing 3 countries like Kenya, Japan, and Mexico. This website also has languages, the day of the life of a child from that country, and a history timeline. This website demonstrates a different type of diversity we have in America today. It is important to understand all different types of cultures because as people we need to understand the cultural challenges. We also have to build respect for differences, diversity instead of criticizing them. We need to learn new things just by learning about different cultures. So, on the website, this is the website I picked. So, it's actually a really neat website. It has many countries. By regions, so you have Africa, Antarctica, Australia, and New Zealand, Asia, Central America, Europe, Middle East, North America, and South America. So we can look into here. So one of our examples was Japan. So we're going to hit Japan. So it tells you about Japan, has a little bit of information, has some pictures, and then it has little facts about Japan all over here, and it shows you the state or the country shape of it in the official flag. So they have different tabs. So you have a sightseeing guide, has all the big towns, important towns, and labels of volcanoes because they have lots of volcanoes in Japan. Has a history timeline that starts way back all the way to the present. This talks about only the major events in Japan history. Next, we go to the native lingo. So it actually gives you basic how to say these words. So say good morning. We want to say good morning.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
And I would have the students repeat the word. I would play it again before I have them repeat it.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
And I'll let them repeat it or...
Konnichiwa.
And it just has different types. I thought it was cool. And then, like, for advanced, if they want to try to test themselves, they can do this.
私はミカです。日本語を話しますか?
So I thought that was pretty cool. And then they have challenges or challenge. So you can test your kids when they read. And they can take a little quiz on Japan and how they know Japan. Here's another one. Day in the life. So they picked a child from Japan, and it gives a daily schedule. So at 6 in the morning, he wakes up to 2 alarm clocks. He checks the weather report and decides what he wants to wear. And he says he's the weatherman for his parents. And it goes on so forth all the way to, let's see, all the way up to the late night where he goes to bed around 7. So I thought this was pretty neat for the kids just to see how each country has a different lifestyle. For my product evidence, I found this book on Pinterest called Children Just Like Me, A Unique Celebration of Children Around the World by Annabelle M. Barbeas Kinserly. And this is incorporated by the United Nations Children's Fund. Reading this book will show my students how other children look like in different parts of the world. This book will show each children's food, eating utensils, housing, school, and friends and family. It's kind of hard. I wanted to show y'all pictures of it, but it doesn't have that. But reading this book was probably the best purchase I made on Amazon in a long time. I found this very interesting because it talks about over 150 children all over the world. This book was published in 1995, so it's a little outdated, but I feel like it gives you enough information. And it just tells you, they picked one child in Mexico. They picked a boy named Omar, who lives in a near town of Cantu in eastern in Mexico. And it describes his family, his heritage, his housing, his schooling, what he likes to do, who he likes to hang out with, and what is his favorite food. And you just see how different each culture is. One is from like poverty level, and the other children they have money. They're in the high class. So I just thought this book was very neat to pick. The reason why I chose this book was I wanted my students to see how different we are compared to other children from other countries. This book will teach students the value of diversity. This book can bring up open discussions about students. You know, I can show a picture and I can ask them, what do you see that's different from us? How we used to live, and they can list like, oh, their housing is different, their school is different, oh, they eat different food, and so just so on and so forth. For my performance evidence, Back in the Classroom by Smithsonian Education. This website has seven-step process to create a classroom museum. This will be an overall assessment to my students about diversity. Depending how well they worked together and create an organized museum, they will receive an end-of-the-year pizza party. I want my students to work together on this class project. They get to create something for the community and their school. By working together, they will build up their confidence and forming communication with one another. And diversity is a big topic no one talks about. These students are starting to take that step in showing what they learned about diversity. I kind of got this classroom idea from Dr. Kornstrom. She taught this in language arts and social study methods, and this one kind of really stuck with me because I feel like this is something fun for the kids to do and work together. And this is kind of like what they would build up on decision making, because I feel like this is a student only project. I feel like teachers should come in and assist when needed. I would try to just let the students come up on their own, make their own decisions, how they want it done. And then I want them to present this to the community, to their school, family, friends all over town. And have them come to a museum. And so they would have to figure out a theme for the museum. They can choose holidays, heritage. It doesn't matter, something that they can all bring something. They can bring in one or two items to the table, and then after, when they bring their items, they can all discuss what type of items they have, and they can try to organize a way to display the product. And then for a teacher's job, you can create a label where it has the student's name of the artifact, and then why is this artifact so important to them's family or to their heritage, whichever, so how they want to answer it. And then they would just need to revise their labels, make sure their spelling, it makes sense. There's not any grammar wrong or errors. And then the students will just all work together, but they can split up into groups. They can have a floor plan group, graphics group, construction group, publicity group, exhibition guide groups. So this would just be like a team effort. They would just split up the groups, and then that certain group would work on that certain task. And then once they finished that certain task, they would put all the together and create their own museum. We would make flyers and put around the community, the school, inviting everyone to come see this exhibition. And then I would have them write a reflective paper over how did the team do? How did they feel it turned out? Did they have fun? What did they learn? So on and so forth. I would have them do that. I want to make diversity more of a broader perspective for my students. I want them to see the different corners of the world that they never heard about before. Also, try to bring in similar places they might know. Like, they may not know a lot about Japan or Kenya. And they may hear more about Mexico because we are closer to Mexico than to Japan or Kenya. So I want to try to bring out different countries that they never heard of and just show them what they're like in compared to us. You might see just mostly teachers celebrate Black History Month, Cinco de Mayo, for the heritage, at least what I can remember from when I went to school. And I kind of want to just try to bring in more than just Black History Month or Cinco de Mayo. I want to try to find different certain cultural months and try to promote it more instead of just doing these two. We need to promote diversity in every classroom and grade level. They don't see how important diversity is until they decide to share it. Showing the children how different or similar our culture is to another will be such a learning experience for them to learn. I want to try and bring in everything about diversity into my class, and I want to give my third graders a project. So this will probably be more of a third grader project than for a first or kindergarten level. Something that they can handle, but something that requires time and hard work, but very rewarding. The museum is going to create and build, the classroom museum they are going to create and build can bring the school and community into the classroom museum and share with everyone what they've discovered. So, and like I said, depending on the overall how hard they work, if everyone did their part and enjoy doing this project, I want to give them a reward for all their hard work. Because this does take time. It doesn't take 1 or 2 days. It's going to take maybe a couple of weeks or so just to put it together, build the stuff, and organize it how they wanted to display it. So, this is all for my competency 2.